Welcome back to Mike and Maurice's Mind Escape. Let us help you escape your mind. All right, folks, welcome back to Mike and Maurice's Mind Escape. We have episode number 145 today, the DMT World Podcast with its host, ALX. And we're going to be discussing psychedelics and other related topics. And you can check out his podcast, DMT World Podcast, on Apple iTunes and other platforms. I'll have the link down below. Check us out at mindescapepodcast.com. We have everything on our website, but you can also check us out on Patreon at patreon.com/mindescapepodcast. For $2 a month, you'll get exclusive content. And also, we just created a new app called indrasweb.org. And if you go there, you can sign up and get an alert when the app goes live. Right now, we're still working on a few things, but like I said, if you sign up, you'll get a notice. And it's created so people can have open conversations about the topics we discuss on this podcast and people with open minds. So, but without further ado, welcome on the show, Alex.
What up, guys? Glad to be here, man.
Yo.
Glad to have you on.
Yeah, I like that site, man. Everything on this is pretty cool, man.
Thanks.
You guys haven't opened yet to the whole public or to everybody else, or
not for Indra's Web yet. We got some people on there doing some stuff, but it should be, I don't know, a few weeks or a month or so, somewhere around there.
Oh yeah, man. Congrats on that, dude.
Thanks.
Cool.
And of course, people can check out DMT World too, which is where your podcast comes from. So if anybody listening out there is into psychedelics and into DMT and want to have conversations with like-minded people, you can go to DMT World, the app's in the App Store, and it's also a platform you can use on your computer.
Very good.
So why don't we get into just you started doing the podcast recently, and so how has it been so far? Like, do you like it? I know it's a lot of work and it's a little bit overwhelming, but do you enjoy the conversations? Do you enjoy the process of it?
Yeah, I do. The biggest thing about it, man, is that it brings everybody in the community a little bit closer. Everybody starts to learn about everybody else. And, right now, obviously, we're mainly audio due to the nature of the subject,
Sure.
but which is cool. It is what it is. But, people got some pretty cool stories, and last year we started some of them, and I fell in love with the stories. Everybody has some pretty, everybody comes from different walks of life. We all have the same commonality, but it's a community at the end of the day. So it definitely helps out to personalize the experience for sure.
That's actually kind of how me and Michael got into it. We were going to this site, erwid.com, and we just read the stories. I don't know if you checked that site out, but we read stories about the mushrooms, and that's actually how we found out about DMT. And those stories got interesting.
Hey, how long have you said you guys been doing it for 3 years, you said?
We've been doing the podcast for 3 years, or just under, probably like 2.5. I think it was
something more like that.
Fall, like 2.5, almost 3 years ago.
Yeah, you guys got a bunch and you guys cover all kinds of topics too. I mean, it's all over the place, but it's beautiful. I love it, man. It's you guys cover a wide range of topics, man, and it's interesting. I mean, you guys have something for everybody there,
Well, we appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, look, I like both kinds of podcasts. So you have your podcasts that are dedicated to a specific topic, like yours, like psychedelics and DMT and stuff like that. Like I listen to those a lot, and then I also listen to comedy ones. But then, the reason why, or the thought behind why what we were doing was this was just the stuff that I was researching at the time, was kind of how can I make connections and correlations between these different topics from like consciousness, ancient civilizations, psychedelics, like there's some common threads there. Like
there are actually lots more than you think.
And we found out through a lot, obviously we've talked to a lot of researchers and authors and stuff like that too. But in terms of when we went in, we actually didn't really have a game plan as far as like all these different topics. It was like, let's just start doing it. And from there, it's kind of pushed us down this path, you know, that it's kind of its own thing where, yeah, I'm doing the research, and yeah, you know, different things I look into lead us to other guests and different things. But, yeah, man, I think that, I think there's a couple ways you can do it. What you're doing with, you know, focusing on one aspect of something, which would be psychedelics.
Yeah.
And the tough thing for us though is like the right person has to listen to that, because you can't just have,
True.
you know, like if somebody likes psychedelics but they don't like ancient civilizations, or they think it's boring or whatever,
Yeah.
they might not like our show because we talk about both of those topics a lot. So I think that there's something to be said about the focus of what you're doing. So I think that's why it's taken us so long to get any real traction, to be honest with you, is just how all over the map we are.
Yeah, but you know what? A lot of the topics that you guys have on, there's a lot of crossover, man, and I think that's where you guys are gonna excel, because you know, the more I get into the psychedelic industry or topic, the more I see that, you know, there's so many different aspects to psychedelics and entheogens and traditions and cultures. I mean, it goes far back, and you know, just being on that interest web to, you know, building it up there, you know, I'm looking at these subjects and topics. I'm like, oh man, this is like a DMT world on steroids, bro.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it really is. I mean, it's pretty exciting, to be honest with you, man. And I'm glad to be part of it, for real.
Yeah. And shout out to Lee, by the way. He's obviously a huge part, and we appreciate it.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can get these things rolling hard here. Why don't you give us a little bit of your background with psychedelics? Like, how did you get into them? What was your experience like? And you know, we'll go from there. Like, where are you now?
Yeah, well, a little bit of a background. I grew up like in I grew up in a city here in Arizona, in Phoenix, and my whole childhood was, you know, gangs and violence and drugs and shit like that. You know what I mean? And when I got into high school, man, I was already fucking, you know, it was go to war, go to jail around that time. You know what I mean? Basically.
Okay.
And I decided to go to the military, man. And, you know, I went overseas, and, you know, I saw some, you know, I was in combat as well. You know, I was an infantryman. You know, I did some tours overseas, and when I came back, you know, I was a little fucked up. You know, I had just got done being in a combat zone and seeing a lot of killing, doing some killing, and, you know, spilling, shedding blood. And, you know, that's when the dust settles, you know, is when, you know, you've been trained for, you know, 6-7 years how to do all this shit. And now you're back in the regular society, and there's, you know, there's no place for you. You know what I'm saying? Because,
Right.
I mean, I literally was in Afghanistan in like May, and then I was in 2008 or 2008, and then I was back home in June.
Wow.
And I had like so much vacation time built up that I just turned it in and was like, fuck you guys, see you later. You know what I mean? So
well, thank you for your service too.
Yeah, thanks, man. But it was tough, man. You know, I didn't know what I was gonna do. I never even thought about it. I was just so ready to be out, because you know, being over there was shitty, man. It was real shitty.
Yeah.
I was there for about 16 months, and for like a whole year, I had spent my entire time living in a fucking tent. Like, we've never even been there, man. And this is mid 2007 to 2008. You know, so it was rough conditions, but I really just wanted to get out. But I got out and had a bunch of issues, and, you know, started a lot of drinking and fucking drugging, you know, a bunch of substance abuse issues. And probably about 2 years after being back in, I had being back out. I pretty much got an ultimatum from who was now my wife, my girlfriend at the time. And, you know, I decided to get help. And, you know, for about 3 or 4 years, you know, I went through the whole VA system. I went to, you know, like the mental health, did medications. I went to a couple of PTSD clinics, rehabilitation centers, and nothing was helping, man. I was still fucked up, you know, and it was like 4 years after the fact. And, you know, I was still drinking a lot and so forth. And one day I just, I remember hearing Rick Doblin from MAPS.
Yeah.
I remember hearing him talking on a podcast about the MDMA trials with, veterans with PTSD.
Sure.
And right then and there, I was like, wait, what the fuck, and I've heard of MDMA before, in my younger years, and
sure,
it spiked my interest, and that's kind of what started everything, and eventually I got to a point where I was able to procure some psychedelics, some psilocybin mushrooms, and man, I just started on my journey probably about 4 years ago. I got off the medications. I literally just stopped going to the VA. I was like, fuck you guys. I mean, there was times where they had called the cops on me, and like I had 6 cops pulling their guns out on me in front of my parents' house, dude. It was fucked up. Yeah. And but that was back then. They've done a lot of they've had a lot of issues, but and then I started getting into all the psychedelics, man, and probably for about 2 years I was just kind of doing my own thing, just on my own, and really didn't have anybody to communicate things with or check. I was going on to websites like the Shroomery for like psilocybin mushrooms and so forth, but even there was something still missing. It was more just like research, trying to figure out what's what when it comes to cultivation and so forth. And then last year I decided to get on I started to kind of get a little more serious about things. I was, for about 2 years I was doing the whole microdosing thing, and doing some macrodose, like 1 gram here, 2 grams, 3 grams, but nothing serious, and to be honest with you, that first 2 years I stopped drinking. I stopped doing other substances, like the other shit I was doing that I shouldn't been doing. It wasn't helping me. And last year I started kind of diving deep into it, and getting to the deeper seated issues that that I had, and not just from the military, even from childhood and growing up the way that I did. And I had a bunch of friends that were killed in their teens. My younger brother was killed, my cousin was murdered. There was a lot of shit like that for me growing up, and I had to battle those demons, so to speak. So and last year I got on Reddit and I checked all that stuff up, but you guys been on Reddit, you know how that is. It's huge. You know what I mean? And you get so many different. It's just such a huge machine. There's no way of changing it. It's already in motion. It's like a huge fucking ship just out to sail already. And then probably like in spring, I remember hearing about DMT World, and I went over there with I followed Michael Madness. I don't know if you guys heard of him. He's Home Mycology. He's on YouTube.
Oh, okay,
as well. Yeah. And
shout out to Home Mycology.
Yeah. But I got on the site, man, and right away I was like, fuck, this is it. These are, and the site was in its infancy, and it still is. It's got like 15,000 people on it right now, and compared to these other sites, that's nothing.
Well, I think it's interesting too, because the people that are on there, they're not just BSing. Like you can go on Facebook and they have all the forums on there, but you have to be careful about what you say. And then you also have the element of people are going to troll and like, mess with you and like for like no reason, like that's the beef we've talked about on this podcast a lot before, is that you would expect, maybe it's just me, but I expect people that have done these substances or use these tools or, plant medicine, whatever entheogens, whatever you want to call it, that they would have some sort of knowledge from these experiences that they can like, have a little bit of, introspection and just understand the way you should treat other people. And then you go on like Facebook and it's like, oh my God, I see what this, it's almost like these people are dealing with the tricksters, and they want to become the trickster or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, it gets pretty shitty sometimes, man. And to be honest with you, man, I haven't been on Facebook since about 2008. I already knew not to go back there, man. So I was like, nah, but I got, dude, it can be, man. And the thing is too, is a lot of places can be, just because you take psychedelics, it doesn't mean you stop being a dick. If you're a dick, you're just going to be a dick. You know what I mean?
I think you can change, though. I think
you can, for sure.
I used to be a dick in some ways. I mean,
you gotta want to change, though.
I've always been a nice person, like I think a kind person, but I also think that I had my tendencies.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
We all get a joke in here or there.
But I've definitely sanded those edges down from years of meditation and using, psilocybin here and there, different things.
You just direct all your comments at me now.
We just joke around.
Oh yeah, that's what he says on that end of it.
Seriously, that's on you.
Yeah, man, it's I've seen how things can be out there, man. And when I got to the site, like I said, it was in its infancy, and they had a bunch of good core group members, and that's what I liked about it, man. Is there was, a good core group of members that were kind of, steering the ship, so to speak, and I got a little more involved, and then we had a few talks last year, and I did the one thing about last year was I started doing what people call heroic doses, of psilocybin, which are higher doses, and
my favorite kind.
Man, I had a few experiences, man, last year, and something changed inside of me, and I started seeing more improvements, man, and my family started seeing the improvements. My wife, my wife's been there by my side this whole time. She's been the one that's been like, whatever it takes, and I see it happen, just go ahead and do it. You know what I mean? And just, communicate back and forth. But I really started getting involved with the community there. And, we had a few talks, that we had recorded and uploaded on YouTube. And, we got a lot of good feedback. And then, this year we started the podcast, and we've been interviewing people on the site as well, and kind of them sharing their experiences as well. And it's been a blast, man. It really has been.
Yeah, it's interesting where we find ourselves now, because I thought we were late to the podcast game 3 years ago, but it seems like there's no end in sight because of the pandemic that's going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
People have a lot of free time, and I think now there's over 1 million podcasts, and
wow,
I mean that's crazy to think about. But I'll say this though, it's all about grinding and working hard, because at some point the people that aren't serious about it are just going to stop doing it.
Yeah.
And then there's just people that are just not good at it either. Like they haven't shown any improvement over 50 episodes or whatever the case may be. So, my advice is always just keep grinding, keep doing it, go on other people's podcasts, talk to as many people as you can. And the biggest advice I would say is that what you're doing is build the community, we're lucky enough. We've had people like RN Vood and, Dick Kahn, DMT researcher, and all these guests that have like hooked us up with other people just because we know they're good people. We're good people. We're similar type thinkers, so it's all about connecting people. And the more people you connect, the better vibes, the bigger the community, and the more you can kind of get these points and these topics and ideas across.
Yeah, man, you guys have had some pretty good guests, man. I ain't gonna lie. That last year when I saw you guys on DMT World, that's when I started looking into your guys' episodes, man. Gallimore, Dick Kahn, all these guys. I was like,
there's some interesting tidbits in those bad boys.
Yeah, they're good, man. And Dreaming Jaguars too. Those guys are. I saw them on the site too.
Yeah,
huge fan of those guys. They've had similar guys, and
sure,
man, it's beautiful to see the larger community. It's and to be honest with you, for me being on the site there, the huge advantage that I have too is because a lot of people there, we already know each other, so we've already got that base right there, and it's just a matter of keep doing it. In terms of improving, I think that's where you see the passion. If you got the passion for it, you're definitely going to improve.
Absolutely.
It's going to include, upgrading your equipment, spending that extra time to get the audio right and so forth. And it does get a little overwhelming, but it's like they say, it's when it's a passion, it's you just get it done, and I love doing it, man. And I'm really glad to be here with you guys finally, man. I've been listening to you guys since this last year, so
no, we appreciate it, man. I know you've you've commented on some of our stuff on DMT World and recently on Discord and stuff like that. But yeah, man, we just wanted to have cool conversations with interesting people. And I think that, you know, with your background, you're not just an interesting person, but like you said, you have the passion to talk about these topics, and you kind of do. And like, even there's a certain nervousness too, right? I mean, I don't know who I was talking about. I think with Justin from Dharma Junkie, but I mentioned that the first time we talked about DMT on the podcast with Dick Kahn or something like that. Like, I was nervous to talk about it just because you start talking about like doing mushrooms and psychedelics and stuff like that.
It's out there.
People are watching, you know. So but we live in a world now where it seems to be like this is where science is trending this way and stuff like that. So it might not be as taboo.
Well, mushrooms are legal in Colorado and stuff. I think that's.
I think are they decrimmed or are they
decriminalized? Yeah. Well, the fact of the matter is that there is a movement, and society's opinion on it has changed, and it is changing continuously. And like you said, there's research happening right now that, you know, wasn't happening, you know, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, you know, and man, it's gaining momentum. You know, you see super, you know, movie stars talking about ayahuasca, you know, and people, you know, all famous people talking about psychedelics as well, you know, and it's all over the place. For me, you know, I look at it as, you know, I understand people's, the hesitance, you know, to go out and, you know, be like this on video and talk about shit. Like, for me, to be honest with you, man, I'm not hurting anybody. I'm not hurting anybody else. And, you know, everybody that I come across and I tell them, you know, what I've done and the stuff that I've gone through, and, you know, and you know, going to the VA and doing the medication and all that, you know, there's a lot of people that not only can relate to it, but they also support it. You know, they're like, hey man, whatever it takes for you to get your shit straight, man, I'm all for it. You know, and that's what I come across, to be honest with you, you know. Then again, I'm not hanging out with fucking politicians or anything like that. So
I was going to ask you, you mentioned like PTSD and like issues from coming back.
Yeah.
Is that, because did you have anxiety before going away? And if so, did going away and then coming back, did that just enhance it? Or was it something that was kind of new after you had come back? Or like, what was the situation like?
You know what? At the time, I didn't even know it was a thing. You know, everybody where I grew up just had that, you know, that anxiety because, you know, like I said, I was around like gangs and shit like that. So it was always like, you know, you got to watch your back. You got to watch out who's here, who's there. So you're always, you know, aware of your surroundings, and your senses are heightened because at any moment somebody could come out, fuck you up, or start shooting at you. You know what I mean? That's just what it was. It wasn't until I came back out and, you know, here I am as an adult, you know, and I got to get a job and pay fucking bills. You know what I'm saying? So is that I start noticing that, you know, because a lot of the adults that I knew growing up, besides my parents were good stand-up people. You know what I mean? They, you know, of course they had, you know, a few things here and there, but, you know, they didn't drink, they didn't smoke, you know, all they did was just go to work, come home, provide for the family and so forth. But the neighborhood that I grew up in, you know, all I saw was adults that were going in and out of prison, you know, that's it. And that's just what it was. But when I got back, when I got out of the military, it definitely was something else. It was magnified, you know, and it was just constantly, but there was nothing there. Like, I wasn't in a bad neighborhood anymore. You know, I wasn't hanging around these people that I grew up with, you know, but I was still having this, you know, this inner battle where it was just like, fuck, I feel like something's going to happen. You know, it did increase, and it was like exacerbated, you know, times 10. So, you know, a little bit of both for sure.
Yeah, that's interesting. So do you think that you were you were geared towards that because of that's how you grew up, so that maybe when you got away from it that you weren't used to like thinking about it in terms of like time and space to like look back on it, kind of a thing?
Yeah, because, you know, even today, like I was, you know, this is the thing about with psychedelics for me, like especially with psilocybin, you know, I've had some sessions where I started going deep into, you know, past memories, and it goes further. It goes back into my childhood, and I didn't realize it at the time, but now I'm just like, shit, man, this stems from even back then, and it makes sense, because even when I went into the military, dude, I was almost like I was built for that shit. You know what I mean? Like, I was in there, no fear, just fucking out there doing what I had to do and getting shit done, but yeah, it goes, further back for sure. It definitely was a rough time, and even today, I still have, some times when, stuff starts coming back, especially when, time gets stressful, like right now, especially like the whole thing with COVID and people being home, like, being home, or kids being home. And, my wife, she's not as healthy as she could be. She had cancer a few years back and went through radiation.
Sorry to hear that.
Well, she's cancer free now, but the radiation fucked her up even worse. So
yeah, my mom went through that with breast cancer. It's tough.
It gets stressful. Yeah. So like even now I still have times that, especially recently, where it's just like, fuck, I'm really overwhelmed, but I've learned enough to know, and I've made enough advancements where I know that I got to reach out to people, and I've got to be honest about how I feel, and give myself a chance to succeed, instead of always running to what's easy.
Yeah, it's tough, man. I mean, but look, you've found the light at the end of the tunnel, in terms of kind of where you're supposed to be, and now you have the knowledge, and even the world knowledge, just being away. And obviously you don't want to be at war or whatever, but being somewhere else in the world, and again, being able to think about like the way your environment where you were raised, and then the aggressive environment you were in when you were at war, and then now you have the time to think about it and process it and kind of just deal with everything. And I think that's psychedelics will obviously help you face the things that you don't want to face. And I think that's what makes them so effective, is it's like a mirror, and sometimes you don't want to even look at yourself in the mirror, and then when they force you to look at yourself in the mirror, it's like, oh, okay, now I'm just going to do. And I think that's what bad trips are, right? Are people reacting poorly to the mirror?
Exactly. It's still trying to have some kind of control over something that you just got to let it happen. It's a process, just like everything else. You try to stop it midway, it gets hung up. That's where people do get even PTSD from bad trips. They'll get in there and they'll get halfway through and they'll try to snap out of it. They'll get like thought loops or whatever. They have this really bad trip, and it gets challenging, and unfortunately, some people have those experiences, but I come to find even more recently that, you can help, you can decrease the chances of that with some kind of guided session.
Okay.
And I think that's why those are so popular, people doing like these retreats. If you got the money for it, you know what I mean, go do it for sure. And there's some organizations who are doing it. Like I know there's some for veterans as well, like Heroes to Hearts, I think is one of them, or Hearts to Heroes, and a couple of other ones. They'll pay for a veteran to go and experience these substances, obviously outside of the country. And there's a lot of benefit there for that. Me, I'm finding out like after the fact, because some people they get scared, and some of this shit, man, that you go through, it gets scary as fuck, man. And there's been times when I've had really challenging experiences, and the only thing that really stopped it is just letting go and just allowing it to be, and knowing that I'll be safe. I'm not going to die. This is something that just has to happen. And I've been pretty successful so far, but I think for me, learning more things about, psychedelics and the traditions and the steps, and, like the tools that people have come up with, for reintegration and so forth, before, during, and after. There's so much to learn about these things, man. Not just the substances, but also just, the manner and how these sessions are experienced.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
So have you checked out our episode with Tom Lane where he talks about like the sacred mushroom rituals from Mesoamerica and stuff?
No, I haven't. No.
Oh, you should check those out because I think you probably like them because it's all about healing. But on a couple of them, he's walked us through some of the ancient mushroom codices, which are like the texts that talk about these rituals and the use of honey with the masticating the fresh mushrooms that are still in the live family formation as opposed to like dried. So there's a whole real process that's done. So check those out for sure, man. I think you'll really dig that, and it's somebody you should have on your podcast too. By the way, I'll
check them out.
I can hook you guys up.
Hell yeah.
In terms of, is that what your go-to is psilocybin? Is that your go-to psychedelic, or is there something else that you like better? Or?
You know what? To be honest with you, man, I've experienced a few psychedelics up until this point. DMT being one of them as well. LSD and MDMA. MDMA was a really game changer, man. The first time I tried MDMA was earlier this year, man. And, something, I felt like something lit up inside, and it was like.
You have a good time?
Yeah, well, the thing was, it was as cheesy as it sounds. It was like a love that I never knew, that I was capable of, and I was like, what the fuck? And even to this day, I still feel those pathways, so to speak, or they're still there. I'm more affectionate to my wife and my children, and like before, I used to be afraid to tell people that I loved them. You know what I mean? Like nobody ever told me they loved me as a child, man. I remember being 23 years old, and the first time my father told me he loved me, and I was like, what the fuck? Like it was weird to me, but since trying going through that, and man, it changed that, like I was able to love myself too, man. And it was definitely a game changer. But
that's a weird one though too, because my parents did tell me that, they loved me growing up, but then I still, when you get a little bit older, you don't want to say like you love them back because it's like you're too cool, or there's some weird aspect, right? That coming of age, and it isn't until you're a little bit older and you're maybe late teens, early 20s, where you're like, oh man, this is stupid. Why was I acting like that or whatever?
Yeah. I agree. I don't know, man. For me though, it really did open something else up inside, man. And I loved it. It's just the only thing about MDMA for me, it's a little slippery, man. It can get a little slippery, especially if it's outside of a structured setting.
Oh, you don't have to tell me, bro.
Yeah.
I've had, and we'll talk. I think we're going to do an episode on our own trip reports coming up soon. But all right. The last time I did it, I was up till like 4:00 in the morning staring at multicolored jellyfish floating around.
Yeah. I always say, if you've ever had any kind of substance abuse issues in the past, or anything, even if it's cigarettes, alcohol, it would really help out and benefit if it was like in a structured setting, more so. But obviously, there's not too many places to do that. But it's just, for me, I found out, I was like, I can't. This is something I can't do pretty often.
Do you know how much you did?
Yeah. The first time I took 150 milligrams, and probably about 45 minutes into it, man, I was feeling it. I'm temperature change, and I remember I was listening to a playlist or some music, and God.
Music's unbelievable.
Yeah, it was like, God,
what did I give us? 0.2 or 0.3?
I don't know. I didn't weigh it out.
I did. It was I either gave us each 0.2 or 0.3, and we both flipped out. So.
Oh Jesus!
I didn't flip out. You get a little anxiety in the beginning.
He went on a little porta potty trip.
No, I just sat down for a little bit, but I was also drinking alcohol. I think that helps you.
That's not good. Yeah.
Yeah. We were at a concert, but here's the thing: is normally, it's all about set and setting, and normally we don't, do it like that per se. But it was like, it's a fish show. It's going to be fun. That's what it is.
Classic time for it.
But I will say that I had never taken that much, so I kind of did flip. Like I had done it and had no issues, like leading up to that a few times or whatever, like a handful of times. But for some reason, I think we just took too much, and
I had time of my life. I don't know.
I did too. I mean, I had a mystical time because, like I said, when I came back, I was laying in bed and I was these multicolored, like iridescent jellyfish were like floating around, like both closed-eyed and open-eyed.
Oh no shit! Wow.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like that.
And
before.
I've never, yeah. Well, I have seen. Well, usually, okay, so the 2 times that I did it before we were on this camping trip, and I did eat mushrooms with doing some of that. So I did. Yeah. I couldn't tell what was causing what. So I have had, but this was weird because I did see like closed-eyed visuals and open-eyed visuals. It was, you know, and no matter what I could smoked, I tried to vape, I tried everything to kind of come down, and it wasn't. I mean, unless it was something completely different, which I guess I didn't.
Possibly.
No, it was pretty good. I've done it before.
That
was good.
Well, now we've lost a couple friends that have thought things were either MDMA or
never that. It was
Coke.
always Coke. Yeah,
no, and MDMA. I know a couple people that have. Yeah, and with fentanyl, you got to be freaking careful.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah. That's something that that I really you know, when doing your research, you know, safety and harm reduction is a huge thing, man. And if anybody ever does, you know, consider taking any of these substances, a test kit's 100. You have to have a test
Absolutely.
kit, man. You have to, because you never know, man. And that is something that I you know, I was pretty fortunate enough to be able to, you know, to use. So
when we were in high school and college, it was kind of like that wasn't even a thought or a worry.
Exactly.
So, you know.
yeah.
I mean, it should have been, but I don't think we were in that mindset. I don't think we're as wise as we are now.
Yeah.
Or have had the same experiences. You see a couple of kids pass away from something, you're gonna. I mean, we pretty much just. It's not like we did it anyway, but we're just like, I'm never doing that again. Bottom line, after that kind of stuff.
Right. Well, I think with us, with losing some friends, it's like any powder. I mean, I'm done with any sort of stuff like that. I'm once occasional psilocybin and some herbs, and I'm good. But I mean, I'm sure you listen. I've never even. We've talked about DMT many times. I've never done it, and neither has Maurice.
Right.
That's the one. That's the one we haven't done. I've done pretty much. I think I've done all of them, except that. I mean, I'm sure there's weird. I've never done iboga or anything like that, but like the standard, you know.
Yeah, you know, the thing about DMT is, for me personally, it's almost a mystical experience. You know, DMT is what kind of got me into all the rest of the subjects. You know, the occult. You know, shit like. It really does something else to your mentality. Like if you never believed in God prior to doing DMT, you know, you
might now.
Yeah, or you may feel like there's something else out there, because my first experience, man, I was a full-blown met an entity, and she took me to the some places, and man, it was crazy. It was crazy. It was I'll never forget it, man. It was something else. But
was it ayahuasca, or you smoked it?
No, it was DMT, the crystal form. Yeah, it was I extracted it myself and everything, you know. So I think that's a good thing to do too. You know, cultivating your own or procuring your own stuff if you can. Obviously, some of these things you can't, but there's something added to it when you're the one that is, you know, procuring the
you're
substance.
Performing alchemy. I mean, you're actually
part of the adventure.
Yeah, I mean, it's any like somebody that grows their own herb, or somebody that makes their own edibles, or whatever. Like when you have hands-on with doing, there is some sort of connection to it, right?
There is, definitely. You know what's crazy is I've tried DMT that other people close to me that I have extracted, and for me personally, it did feel a little different. But obviously, that's going to also depend on the way that it was, you know, extracted and the method and so forth. But for me, it did feel a little different. You know, every time I do it, I do it, or when I did the extractions, it was a really personal experience, man, and really changed me, man. Really changed me in terms of like healing or treatment. It's kind of hard for me to say, to be honest with you. I'm a little on the fence about it, because right away I really didn't feel much of a difference as I do when I'm on psilocybin. Like psilocybin, you have a little bit of an afterglow, and it takes sometimes weeks for me to kind of reintegrate that, and process everything. With DMT, it happens so quick. Obviously, those of us who have experienced DMT or who know and have done the research on it, the time frame of the experience, is sometimes less than 5 minutes. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
yeah, that's why Gallimore's trying to intravenously put himself under and see what happens.
He's not putting himself under.
Time to see what happens, ladies and gentlemen.
I think they have test subjects. Yeah.
It's
definitely something I would do, but I'm not. I don't know. I do.
Yeah, if it presented itself, like if the universe was like serving it up on a golden platter, then why not?
It has once, and this will be part of our trip report episode, but I'll just say a little bit here. When we were, I think I was 18 and Maurice was 17. We had some break at school, or like midwinter break, when Fish was playing, and they had just come back from their hiatus. So our parents actually let us go. We got dropped off at one show, and then we took a Greyhound to, from Chicago to Cincinnati to see these other two shows. When we met a hippie on the Greyhound bus that was trying to, he was offering up MDMA and saying that he did this or that. Yeah, and then so I'm like, no, but I'm looking for psilocybin, if you can. He's like, sure. I didn't see him the first night, but the second night I found him. He's like, you want to buy DMT? It's $100 a gram. I'm like, I don't even know what. I kind of know what it is. Like Maurice said, we looked it up on Irwin's when we were in high school, and it was like that was the craziest one you could do, But I passed. I mean, we were in a different city. We were staying at a hotel. Yeah. It was just weird. I just didn't feel. But mushrooms, that's my thing. I chowed down on those, but. Yeah, it was the only time it's ever been offered to me, and I don't even know if that's really what it would have been based on the mannerisms of this guy.
No, I think that it was fate that you didn't take it then.
Yeah.
Because you need to be somewhat prepared for it, or else you're not going to get out what you probably should. If you're going to take a leap like that, you might as well prepare a little bit for it, do some back research, and kind of have an intention going in.
Well, also shit can turn sideways, man. And if you ain't in the right place, you're gonna have a hard time, man. For me, that's one big thing is, I have to be in the right setting, for DMT, man. I'm not one of those people that puffs on a cart all fucking day or anything like that. For me, it's a process, and it's almost like a ritual type thing for me. I do everything right, make sure everything is taken care of here in the house or with, work. I don't have anything in the back of my mind.
It's interesting, though, that you distinguish that it's not, you wouldn't consider it necessarily healing in the sense that you would psilocybin, because psilocybin does leave you that feeling, right? Like you can almost feel it. You can feel like that cool feeling all over your body. Like I don't know if it's the serotonin or the 5-HT2A receptors playing off of this, the compound or what the deal is, but there's definitely, you can feel it on psilocybin for sure.
Yeah. And for me with psilocybin, man, it's almost more of a personal, a personal experience. Like I'm kind of going into my own brain and my own feelings and my own emotions, my past, my memories and so forth. With DMT, I'm going to like a different realm.
Right.
And I mean, I've had conversations with entities and they've showed me shit where I'm like, holy fuck, nobody is gonna believe this. Right. Like it's almost like I have to be serious about this shit. You know what I mean? Because every time I meet an entity, man, it's always something, it's always like this mystical, magical shit, where they're like, don't tell nobody, come here. And it's almost like, it's very serious for me, and, some of the shit that I've seen in there and some of the conversations that I've had, and it's conversation obviously is not the right word, but it's the only thing that I can, relate it to.
It's like some sort of telepathic.
Yeah. It is. But
here's what I'll say. Obviously, like, again, I've never done DMT, but I have done 10 grams of psilocybin. So I do know what it's like to like be in communion with something greater than yourself. Whether it's actually there or not is a different story, but the feeling that you are in communication or there's telekinesis happening or whatever the case may be, I've definitely felt that before.
Yeah, and the thing about psilocybin too is at a certain dose, man, it does. I have been in the same realm. I have seen the same entity on psilocybin that I have on DMT. And I know a lot, I remember telling this to a few people last year on the site, and they're calling bullshit. And I'm like, dude, listen, I don't need to fucking. I really don't care what you believe, but I experienced this, man, and
Right.
so there is definitely a correlate. There's some kind of similarities in there, but for me, I find that a lot of work for myself with psilocybin is done on, a moderate dose, like 5, 6, 7 grams, and I do a lot of more of a meditation type thing, where I'm here present where I'm at, and I'm kind of just in here. DMT, there's none of that. You're gone. You know what I mean?
So, but yeah, that I think, but you made a good point. There is similarity, or there is a similarity in the sense that DMT, if you ingest it, you need the MAO inhibitor. But if you smoke it, you don't. Mushroom, it's all in one kind of a technology. Isn't, I think psilocin, which is what you break down psilocybin into in your gut, I think it's only one molecule away from DMT. So it's not like it's that different of a compound. So
yeah, they're very related when it comes down to the compound, the structure of the compound themselves. Yeah. So for me, I love psilocybin. It is my go-to when it comes to, like treatment or like therapy, or any type of healing. And it's always been my go-to for sure.
Yeah, we got to connect you with Tom Lane, because he's all about the sacred mushroom rituals and Maria Sabina and all that kind of stuff. So Mesoamerican culture stuff. And I think that there is something soothing. I mean, I'm sure you've seen Hamilton's Pharmacopoeia. They do some episodes. Like, that's what I like about that show. Like, he might not believe in the metaphysical aspects of these things, but he partakes in the rituals and does the things that the people do that are associated with these things. So I think getting in that mindset helps to have a better trip, for sure, in my opinion.
Yeah, did you see that one he had with the 5-MeO DMT, the toad medicine?
Yeah,
the one at the end where he's like, I usually don't say this, but yeah, it's all about love.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, he felt it, man.
He's like, love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
He makes a good point too, that people should stop torturing those toads and synthetically make it if possible. I know there was that one episode he did. The only one that bummed me out was the one where they did that like ritual killing of the guinea pig, which was like part of the shaman or the curandero prep to do I think it was
cactus.
Yeah, the San Pedro.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So that was I weird. Mean, look, it's people eat guinea pigs. It's not that weird, but just the way that it went down was, I don't know.
Yeah,
I swerve out of the way for chipmunks in the road. So
there's always something with the traditions, man, and it's just one of them things where it's hey, this is their house, this is how they do things here. We may not agree with it where we come from, but this is acceptable here. I've been in different cultures where you're just like, I don't know about that, dude.
I don't even know if it's unacceptable. It's just like when you see it, there's just something. Maybe that's part of it too. Maybe you coming to grips with that is you coming to grips with your own mortality in some way too. It's probably, like you don't like seeing death or any of that kind of stuff. So maybe there's some sort of aspect of that. It's like killing your own food to eat, or something like that.
Yeah. No, definitely.
So in terms of your guests and all the people that you've had on, you've had a lot of the people from the DMT world on. Are you going to reach out to people outside of that, or is that something you're going to focus on, is just that community specifically?
You know what, man, to be honest with you, until recently, I just wasn't confident enough either, man. I'm barely starting. I'm barely even learning the software and so forth. And, I've had some people, telling me like, hey, I've reached out to this person, and I'm like, dude, I'm not ready for that. You know what I mean? Because the bottom line is, man, is I'm new to all of this, man. This for me is a big learning experience, and that's kind of what the whole podcast is about too. Is just me learning as I go. And you can hear it, man. You can get on these episodes, and you can hear, I don't have much experience with some of these things, you know, and I'm constantly learning from the people coming on there, you know. And there's some times where I'm like, shit, I don't even know what the fuck to ask this guy.
Right,
You know what I mean? Or so for me, it's, you know, I'm just barely getting out of that shell, and you know, it's still forming right now. And you know, I just started coming around and getting a little more confidence, you know, and definitely would definitely love to, you know, expand and reach out to, you know, different people, different organizations, because there's a lot of shit happening in the psychedelic industry, man. There's so many things happening.
Yeah, it's bubbling up right now. Yeah.
Fuck yeah, it is. And for me, not only do I want to learn, but I also want to bring awareness to it, you know. We have a lot of people on the site there, and you know, they know a lot of people. We have our local groups too. It's always good to bring awareness, you know, to other organizations or even other people like you guys, you know, what you guys are doing here. I think for me, that's those two things, is me learning and also bringing awareness to, you know, different people and organizations in this industry, and, you know, like brother and sister industries, and people on the same, you know, stage, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's definitely something that, you know, I'd love to do, you know.
For sure. Well, it sounds like a good plan. I think, like I said from the beginning, like the building the community thing is super important, you know, unless you're already famous coming into podcasting. I think that the only way you're going to grow or gain any sort of traction is if you build a nice base of people around you that, you know, like what you're doing, want to help out, you help them out, like that kind of a thing. So now what are you trying to do in terms of are you going to do maybe like a YouTube channel in the future? Like, do you have any plans to or is it just right now you're just focusing on just doing episodes?
Well, you know what, the challenge with the YouTube is right now, you know, a lot of the guests that we're having right now, you know, they like to keep their anonymity, you know, and
right.
also the biggest, you know, and it's kind of, for me, it's a little like, I'm just going to put audio on YouTube. Like, we're not going to have any video. This is kind of whether, like today I wanted to do it like this, where I'm on video as well, because, you know, I want to bring this kind of video where the, you know, the conversation is having like this, because, you know, there's a lot more to it, you know, when you're actually seeing somebody, his face and expressions and so forth. So, we do have the DMT World YouTube channel. The only thing is I'm running it, but,
I think even if you put up like your logo with just the audio in the background, I think that's a good way to, because people listen to that kind of stuff. You know, I listen to podcasts where there's no actual video, but it's still on YouTube.
Yeah, you know, and I actually loaded one. I just started doing that recently. There is one on the YouTube channel with one of our members called Jilly Beans. Mm-hmm. And I liked her podcast. She's pretty cool. We had a good time, and it was just kind of one of them things, another learning experience, you know, me trying to figure out, you know, how to take the audio and put the background on it and so forth. So yeah, definitely going to do that as well. It's just a matter of time, man. Just a matter of time. Mm-hmm. You know,
I'll keep plugging away, baby.
Yeah. What about you, Maurice? You had your own little microdose experience. How was that?
That was pretty good. I'm making a little short film, Mike and Maurice short on it, and everybody can join me. Keep your eyes peeled. That should be coming out later this week.
Nice, man. So what is it? Just like is it like a talk like this?
It's me in the woods. I went out on a canoe trip, and the first night I kind of separated myself. I took like 0.3 little capsule. They're kind of going around the city I live in right now. And then I took some CBD on top and went to this, Michael's been there before. It's like a campsite. It's like a mile deep from where we actually are camping, but there's a couple of benches and 3 streams kind of emerge into one and then feed into the river. And the site's like in between all the little streams. So I just chilled there and did some meditation, and it was a good time. It was a nice little mind escape, if you must.
Hey, you did video as well?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. You do like video stuff, like I don't know what you would call it, cinematography or photography or something like that?
Yeah, I have a production company. We do like weddings and music videos and things like that. But I've been trying to, because Michael does more of the research and stuff. I'm trying to play my stronger suits up a little more and do some extracurricular adventure type, because I'm always traveling for photography. So I'm trying to incorporate like astro stuff and other things that some of our fans are into. You know what I'm saying?
Damn, dude, I've always wanted to do that, man. I was talking to my son the other day about, what he wants to do when he grows up, and he was asking, he asked me, he's like, what would you want to do, Dad? And I was like, fuck, you know what, man? Them dudes who carry around cameras and
yeah.
I was like, they go to some badass fucking places, man. And we talked about that. That's pretty cool, man. That's really cool,
brother.
What's his name? The guy from Dreaming Jaguars.
Yeah, he's sick. Yeah,
he's
they
good.
do some sweet stuff.
They got some
Justin
beautiful...
and I'm drawing a blank here right now, but
they got their video is top notch, man. That's what caught my eyes with those guys. I was like, holy shit, who are these guys, man? I know they're supposed to be coming out with a documentary or something like that as well, right?
Yeah, they're always making something. I mean, their episodes are kind of like small documentaries in a way.
Yeah.
I think that if they would just need to make probably, what for a documentary, what do you need, like 45 minutes to an hour? You could probably do something.
Depends on what category. You can make short documentaries. They're under 45 minutes.
That's true.
Yeah, some of their shit looks like fucking movie quality, man.
It's pretty sick. They have drones and
and they got the thing about them too is their location, their geographical location, man. They got some beautiful areas they go to, man. Some pretty nice places that they do their recordings at, man.
They're always like on the cliffs or the forest. They've always got some sick background that they're working with.
Yeah, I like that stuff, man. That's pretty cool. I'll definitely look that. You guys gonna put that on the Mind Escape channel on YouTube?
Yep. Yeah.
Nice. Hell yeah, man. I'll definitely check that out, man.
That's
cool.
So yeah, man. I mean, we'll definitely
have you on again. That's for sure.
For sure. And if you, obviously I can hook you up with people too. And I think, like I said, just, building community and sharing contacts and, getting those voices out there for the same kind of topics that we discuss. So.
Yeah, definitely, man. I'm really, really excited. I'm looking forward to the growth and just learning in general. And like I said, bringing awareness to all these different channels and people, man. There's a lot of cool shit out there, man. There really is.
Paul from Dreaming Jaguars, I forgot it was Justin and Paul. Paul's the one that does the videography and so I just
they got they got some pretty cool shit, man. If anybody listening hasn't listened or watched their videos, man, Dreaming Jaguars on YouTube, that's definitely a channel to take a look at, man. I'm a big fan of those guys. But yeah, man, I'm really looking forward to everything, man. This thing is just getting started, and man, we're already plugging away. So definitely really grateful to be on here as well. And
thanks for joining us, my man. We're going to be sending you positive vibes, and if we can help you with whatever, we'll be around.
Definitely, man. Definitely.
Is there anything else you want to plug or?
No, man. That the biggest thing right now is just DMTworld.net. If anybody out there listening, more than welcome to come on and join us there. And then the DMT World Podcast as well. And look out for the YouTube channel too. We'll be starting to upload some of these interviews on there too. So
yeah, like we said, we can help you if you have any questions. Feel free. In terms of what's your screen name on DMT World if people want to find you on there?
ALX 8721. That's ALX 8721.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm on there. I haven't been on there much as I've been so busy, but I've been on there a decent.
Get back on there.
I've been. Where are you, Maurice? I haven't seen your ass on there.
I didn't know.
I was over there posting your own videos on your profile, dog.
Yeah, I gotta sign in here.
Look, man. Here's the thing: it's a social platform, man. And sometimes people are not like even me. Sometimes I get on there and I'm like, nah, I'm good, man. Because at the end of the day, there's a lot of different people on there, man. A lot of different perspectives and points of view, and sometimes you do get a little bit of that feeling of the social network part. But the big thing too is creating your own groups you know, and staying in the groups and keeping up on the groups and posting shit in your groups and staying active within your group. I mean, you could literally build your own world on that site, you know, including like Indra's Web. I'm sure it's going to be running pretty much similarly to
it's a similar platform.
Right? Yeah. So that's one thing that, you know, we stress out a lot there too, is you can literally go in there and create your own group, your own world. And, you know, you don't have to stay on the main feed. The main feed is where everybody's just kind of dumping memes and fucking talking shit. You know what I mean? That's where you get that vibe. You know what I mean? But that's why the groups are so important, for sure.
Well, again, thanks for coming on, man, and sharing your story, and thank you for your service. And check out Alex's podcast, DMT World Podcast. The link will be down below the video. And also check them out at dmtworld.net. You can check us out at mindescapepodcast.com. We are also on Patreon at patreon.com/mindescapepodcast. For $2 a month, you'll get exclusive content. And also check out Indra's Web at indrasweb.org. It is our new app. It's designed to have these kinds of conversations, whether it be ancient civilizations, psychedelics, UFOs, you know, anything fringe or weird or mysterious, and you want to have an open conversation about that. That's what the app is for. So you can sign up. The link's down below, and when it's ready to go live, you will get an email, and you can set up a profile and go from there. So, but listen, Alex, we'll definitely have you on again. Thank you, and you have a nice night.
Spread the love.
For sure.
Peace.